Venstervalle trail, hiked in August 2016, is a hike of around 50 kilometers over 4 days in the Richtersveld. And the Richtersveld is a national park in the furthest western corner of South Africa, bordering the Orange River. Hiking starts from the hiking camp at Hakkiesdoring, where we spend the night before and the night after. Our group of hikers, put together through the organization of Dave, consisted mostly of people interested in the plant life of the area, i.e. botany. As an example, there was Carol from the succulent garden in Worcester. There was Alison, the chief horticulturist of the botanical garden in Pietermaritzburg. Adam from the Kirstenbosch botanical garden in Cape Town. And Andrew, the horticulturist from the Walter Sisulu botanical garden at Rudeport. This is just a sample. Space does not allow me to mention everyone. We were 19 hikers. In the morning, we all jumped into the bakkies to drive down the road, cutting off the first 3 kilometers of the hike. From where we left the vehicles, we followed the dry riverbed of the Gamma Kurip. Our guide was Peter van Wyk. He is an employee of the park. We borrowed him to guide us along the trail and also to the water points, which after a long drought period are not plentiful. His knowledge of the flora, the geology and the history is impressive. The river course we have been following cut through the mountain ranges, showing strong tilting, an indication that subsidence happened here at one point in geological history. According to the book Earth and Life, a book worth having if you are interested in the geological history of Southern Africa. The tilting was caused by the collision of the Kango Craton and the Kaap Zim Craton 1,800 million years ago. Passing through the quiver tree forest, a minor halt was called at one of the large specimens of Aloe-dichotoma, that is a quiver tree or kurkopworm. Peter wanted to show us that this tree had been growing for such a long time that it had incorporated big rocks in its trunk and looks like actually lifted them off the ground. It was at one of these places where the tilting could clearly be seen that we stopped for lunch. It was a long lunch because Peter and some others went up to fetch water from a place called Zebra Water. There was going to be no water at the overnight spot. The route on to the amphitheater, our overnight spot, was not long and was reached in middle afternoon. After a short climb up, we were at the place. An ideal spot for overnighting. Rock faces all around us, sandy floor and large, I guess 50 by 50 meters. We had a very comfortable night. Just some minor gusts of cold wind coming over our sleeping bags. First, we had to climb down from our super overnight spot, down back to the Gamma Kurip River, and up over a shoulder to another valley. The up was a steady climb from 530 meters up to 930. A surprise for the botanists on top was a flowering Aloe Mairie, the first flowering Mairie seen in the Richtersveld. It was here that I came to the conclusion that botanists have more fun. For them, the countryside is full of discoveries and excitement. Following the dry riverbed, we eventually got to the fountain. Before we got there, we passed a patch of Namakwa-type flowers. I appreciated that, because we have seen hardly any flowers around Springbok on the way coming here. On the map it's called Modderfontein, translated Mud Fountain. It's anything but a mud fountain. The water was clear and sweet. A couple of trees growing there made it a perfect spot for a lunch stop. Here we observed some large caterpillars eating away at the leaves. They were the larvae of the emperor moth. The weather started to cool down as we went over the ridge, at times even threatening to rain. For the night we were going to stay at the Venstervalle. The name it got from the river that runs through a window in the rocks, dropping down into the valley below. That is when it rains. This was going to be an interesting night, because the weather had deteriorated to a cold wind and drizzle at times. Those with tents had no problem. Others slept under a shallow overhang, with not much protection from the elements. Franz and I carved out a terrace under a tree and hung up our fly sheet. It was not ideal, but we survived the rain and the wind of the night without a problem. The overhang is a historical place. Peter explained some of the rock paintings to us. It was the site of a fertility rite. Young girls with their first menstruation were accepted here into womanhood. Leaving camp, the first point of interest we came to was the Potterboom forest, Tylocodon baniculatus, possibly more familiar to us as a pot plant. Also of note along the route, a green field, green grass and flowers. It's an area of soil which holds water because of a higher clay content, more so than in other areas. Plodding along, we came to a place called Barber Buttons, or Baby Bath. It's a series of small rock pools full of water. After 2 days of no showering, some of us felt like braving the cold water for a quick dip, to get this feeling of cleanliness. This was also lunchtime. A weaver bird, building a nest over one of the pools, kept us entertained during this time. After a short climb, we got to a shoulder, overlooking the Arm Man's Valley, the Poor Man's Valley. A great view, and apparently got its name from the fact that there is a plant which is poison to livestock and makes a rich livestock keeper into a poor livestock keeper. The downhill took us from 970 meters to 400 meters over a short distance. It probably brought me a step closer to knee replacement. Excitement on the way down. The first and only stand of half-man's trees and flower. One of them still small enough that we could take nice pictures. Now half-mens is the Afrikaans name. In English it's called the elephant's trunk, and in Latin Pachypodium namaquanum. At the bottom was our overnight spot, next to a dry riverbed and totally out in the open. The weather was nice and we had no problems surviving the night. The last day was the longest. We had to cover about 15 kilometers. It wasn't much of a problem. The path was mostly smooth and no steep ups and downs. By about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we were back in camp. At Hakisturm, we had a presentation to thank Peter for his capable and knowledgeable guidance. And let me add my own thanks to Peter for carrying some of my stuff. And a thank you to Dave for organizing the event, and thank you Parks Board for making this interesting and adventurous hike available.